just going live. I should have gone live a minute. Anyway, trying to upload the videos to YouTube. I do keep them. I'm under Lisi123 on YouTube. I do upload all the videos. I don't know if anyone's interested to look at the backlog, but they're up there, for better or for worse. This notebook, pen. Today we're doing Pathfinder world building, so that should be fun. He and vibes today, but she or they is fine. I know I have certain friends who always use she, her from actually pretty much everyone who knew me before. It's a long story. Anyway, so okay. So there's that. And I need to go to here, Stream Manager, because I'm live. Welcome. Please say hi in the chat. I love it when people say hi in the chat. So last time I usually do Pathfinder. I usually go with first edition. Here, I'll show you the core rulebook because I have it. I have, because that's the one I have the Tattooed Dead Tree copy for. This one. It's also the one I grew up with. The tape on the binding. Actually, I still have my Blue Box sticker. It came on the package that I got sent by a very good friend, Blue Box RPG, and I left the sticker there because reasons. It's on tape, so it can come off easily, but the binding is because my dog Athena chewed it. She is still an awfully good girl, and I love her very much, even though she chewed my book, because she was just a puppy at the time, and it's fine. And I managed to repair it, and it was still usable even before that, so, you know. So I've been doing, what I've been doing is thematic world building, so I'll, and character creation for this Pathfinder world. I mean, mine's pretty cool. Also, hello, welcome. Grindelwolf. R.I.P. Oh, because if I remember correctly, Grindelwolf was the one killed by Beowulf. Although that might be misremembering my folklore. I am not an expert by any means. But Grindelwolf does sound familiar. So I've been doing thematic world building. Building up this continent that doesn't have a name yet because when I created the world, I started with one country, added a second, and then, you know how Orth is often called Greyhawk because the city of Greyhawk it's just one city, and then the surrounding area, I believe they have some dominion over. But it's called the world of Greyhawk, and it counts the entire Flyness and other continents on Earth, presumably few that there are. This one's the same. It's technically Fireth and Hitherland and a few other countries, and then there's the Empire to the west, and a couple islands, and a few breakaway states there, and then there's Trompelia to the south, which is an island which was created. A lot of things in this world were created because I was building it as I played in it, so players wanted something to exist, so I said, well, okay, now it exists, how do I work this into the lore of my world in a way that makes sense? Which is why we have Trompelia, which is basically a tropical island full of Loxodon, because my friend wanted to play Loxodon, and I was like, alright. Nee. Lovely character, because I was running the 5th edition. I run some of the campaigns Pathfinder 1st edition, some of them in D&D 5th edition. But I've been doing these streams where I've been doing world building and character creation set in this world, and a lot of random rolls. That's why I have my dice tray. The flail snail is actually a mini. It was a prize in a giveaway from Magic ED, and I am keeping it for Saturday. It's going to come into play Saturday, which is why I put it in the dice tray, because it's kind of cool. I'm actually going to have 2 of the characters I've created on the stream show down again. Well, 4 of them, 2 teams of 2 siblings each, are going to join forces and work against the flail snail. We'll see how that goes. But last time I did Pathfinder, because every other, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, hi! I agree. That is a very, very clever and poetic way of putting it. I've been doing fine, actually. Thank you. Welcome, also. Um, of course, the stream, you can lurk if you want, or hang out and talk in the chat. Either way. But yeah. So, last time what I've been doing, is the head of the... Also, I hope you've been doing well as well. I should have said that, because, you're cool too. I was working on a level 20 paladin build from Warhammer 40k. Ah, yes, post office trips. I do need to make one of those soon, now that I think on that. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. What I've been doing was a level 20 paladin who's head of the Magisterisma, which is the group of paladins of Abadar. So, while I'm homebrewing the world, I'm using the gods of Golarion, which is the Pathfinder world, because that's the gods listed in this book, and I kind of fell in with them. I've put my own flair on it, but essentially I'm using a lot of their stories, their domains, their mythologies, and such to work with. So, for example, I did a couple of Cleric of Desna. Isn't this Moral God of Trans Lesbians as well? Which kind of makes sense. But anyway, so yes, Magisterisma is a group of paladins of Abadar who are technically under the control of the king, although there's some debate on who. Like the kings of France pre-first revolution, I should say. There were a lot of revolutions in France. And the cardinals, where the church is very powerful and technically is under they're very powerful entities and have a lot of power. So the Magisterisma is a civic institution, but also religious, because they run various so I've been figuring out the political system as I went, kind of. When I first started Hyreth, I started my players there without a firm grasp of the political situation, and that is a mistake. So I started to remedy that. So the Magisterisma is, basically they set out magistrates to run towns that don't fall under any baronies that bowed to the king. Basically, when the current king and royalty line took over, any baron who agreed to pledge fealty was left to continue the small rules of small areas. Some larger areas, but mostly, smaller, principalities, because the ones with larger were determined not to yield, so they ended up being defeated. And those other ones bowed and were allowed to keep. So there are a handful of towns and small, baronies, essentially, run by barons or other nobles from before. Any town that isn't is run by the Magisterisma, by a magistrate who's a paladin of Abadar, and is then, therefore, in charge there in the town of enforcing law. The head of the Magisterisma holds court in the capital, and on 4 out of the 5 days of the week, hears civic cases and tends to the business of the city, and then on 1 day of the week, it's 5-day weeks, not 7-day weeks, because it's a 400-day year. I actually came up with the... Yeah. Well, that's what but I did have when they were traveling through, they met a lot of towns. They found one town with a barony and one town with a magistrate, and they just walked between the towns. I mean, they encountered some dangerous creatures on the road and such, because, of course, as they were trying to make their way to... and the Church of Iomedae is rotten from the inside. There's corruption, and it's... partly from itself, because you can't corrupt really faithful people are harder to corrupt by outside forces, but there's complications that are ensuing in that part, and there's high clerics that are definitely causing problems, making deals. When Rogue Group is trying to kidnap children up in the Hitherland, this is another country altogether. They're trying to kidnap children to sacrifice on an altar because they are mistakenly believe that their goddess wants them to. Iomide is the god of justice, lawful good. She does not want anyone to sacrifice children on an altar, but they think she does. But there's a lot going on in this world right now, and factions are stirring up because of seemingly unrelated reasons that are all weaving together because, Dungeon Master plans. It's due to something happening on the other continent, but I can't say too much because if I say too much, then I don't want to spoil it for A, my players, and B, oh, come on. Okay. Well, I want to mute myself. Can you guys still... I'm having a little bit of technical issue right now. Hopefully that is not actually endemic of anything. Excellent. Good. Then it's just the browser that's being wonky, and that's fine. If that goes out, it's no big deal. If the studio goes out while it's broadcasting, that is actually a bigger deal, because then you're gonna lose it. What was I gonna explain? Oh, yes. So, knowledge, religion. Oh, yeah, so I got the skills. Very few skills relatively. Yes, Twitch can be very twitchy. Sorry, I feel like if I had, I don't know, inspiration for dad jokes, that would be that. 30-foot speed, a half-orc. All I need now is a name. Did I write down that he's a half-orc? Yes. He's the first half-orc to ever hold the position, because I rolled for his race and he got half-orc. Even though I rolled it on a d10 instead of a d8 and gave him much higher chance to be human than anything else, he still ended up as a half-orc. So, I have a... I want to show you some of these things I have, because they're really cool. So what I have is this chart. And if I create a character, I usually roll on the chart. Although sometimes if it's, for example, they have a human mother, I'll roll... a much smaller list of half-orc, half-elf human on a d3, for example. Yeah. So I rolled it on that chart. I rolled it with a d10 and gave him 2 extra chances to be human, but still, oh, hey. Looks like we got some new followings. That's pretty cool. And we have new viewers. Apparently my viewer count is skyrocketing, according to my numbers, which, to be fair, are often wrong, I've heard. So, welcome for anyone who's new. My name is Lee. He and vibes today. She or they is okay too, though. We're doing Pathfinder 1st Edition. I'm explaining some of this world building. And, I was explaining I did the head of the Magisterisma. He's 20th level paladin, 18 in strength and charisma, 13 dex constitution, 16 wisdom, but 10 intelligence. So he's not really, really smart, but he's, faithful and all that jazz. So, because this isn't 5th edition, I don't have to pick a subclass, which I really like. I mean, okay, I do like subclasses are growing on me, but as someone who started with Pathfinder, 1st edition, I am hesitant about subclasses being a thing. I mean, for something like Sorcerer, it makes sense. For something like Sorcerer or Cleric, it makes sense that they'd be domains, or you would have a bloodline, but for, say, Bards or, Paladins, like, that doesn't make much sense. So, and you can pick options, class feature options more piecemeal and, build up more customizable characters, which I really appreciate for that. Yeah, okay, so the only thing I never gave him was a name. I was thinking Jean-Emile, but I want to give everyone in the chat a chance to say anything else if you have any other ideas, because I like giving people in the chat chance to name stuff. Gluvox himself actually named Hofi, and the capital was Rochevier, was named also by people in the chat. So if any of you in the chat have a good idea, so okay, we gave him 10 feats. Oh, he's extra grappling power. Base attack bonus. We got the reflex will. I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh yes, the bond. That was what we didn't have. That was the last thing before his character was complete, was a bond. A divine bond. Concentrate evil, the immune to all diseases. His mercies, his everything. I have it all. All sorts of really cool abilities and auras and all the things level 20th level paladin gets. But there is one thing that I did not pick because I was hesitant on it. So, let's see. I have the book open. Rogue. Yeah, so Paladin comes before Rogue after fight. Here we go. Paladin. So, there is a Divine Bond. Upon reaching 5th level, which he has because he got to 20th level, a paladin forms a divine bond with their god. This bond can take one of 2 forms. The first type of bond allows the paladin to enhance the weapon as a standard action by calling upon the aid of a celestial spirit for 1 minute per paladin level. When called, the spirit can cause a held weapon to shed light as a torch. At 5th level, the spirit grants weapon a +1 enchantment bonus. For every 3 levels beyond 5th, the weapon gains another +1 enchantment bonus to a maximum of +6 at 20th level. These bonuses can be added to the weapon stacking with existing weapon bonuses to a maximum of +5, or they can be added to any of the following weapon properties. Or they can be used to add any of the following weapon properties: Axiomatic, Brilliant Energy, Defending, Disruption, Flaming Burst, Holy, Keen, Merciful, and Speed. Adding these properties constitutes an amount of bonus equal to the property's cost, and there's a table showing that. I was saying he was raised as among humans, which is why I was going to give him the name Jean Emile, a very human name, at least for Harathian society. His mother was a human. She fell in with some orcs, maybe willingly. She doesn't like to talk about it. Ended up with a half-orc son. Raised him as best she could as a single mother. Ended up marrying another human. And his stepfather was a follower of Abadar, which convinced our friend to follow in his stepfather's footsteps and become a cleric, and then started with paladin level training, and then became a level 20th paladin. I can't see anyone raised among orcs following Abadar, although possible. But Abadar is the god of law and merchants and lawful neutral, actually, not lawful good. Although he does have paladins who are lawful good, but clerics don't have to be. They just have to follow the same alignment. It's a cool name for a half-orc born in an orcish tribe. Not so much for a half-orc Jean Emile. I mean, Jean Emile is a good name. I'm just always thinking, I guess, other names. But, the whole question about Divine Bond is, yes, you can add all these properties to a weapon. Or, you can gain the servant of... Alright, Jean Emile. Yeah, Jean Emile is not expected. He's like the first half-orc to ever hold this position. There's been a few high clerics who are half-orcs, but none, and a few paladins even, but none have ever held the position of high paladin. And it was a big deal when he got put into place. Let's see. So Jean Emile. Bloodfire is a cool name, though. I have a list of names that are cool, but I don't... Somewhere. Then I'm going to add that, too, because that is a cool name. Yeah, I'll add it to my list of names. There we go. John. True, but I'm vaguely basing Hierethian culture and language on... Basically, I'm basing the language and the names kind of on French, so it's kind of... Really? I've never actually had to name a dragon, because I only had one dragon ever show up for the players. And Hyreth is the country in the continent with the most dragons. There's a couple of white dragons up in Bjornga who are less vicious than other white dragons. They've kind of... At least some of them. Some are still pretty vicious. Yeah, I've never had to name one of them because the only dragon players ever interacted with was a black dragon who they faced at level 1. Adult black dragon that they ended up with pissing off at level 1 because they murdered his goblin army and ended up having to go on a quest for, which led them to a lot of things, actually. And then them stumbling into all of the things that are going down. But... yeah, so, I was thinking, Jean-Emile, alright, so he has a name, that's good, but what I was thinking was, I have the Divine Bond, and I can either have a really cool weapon property, with all sorts of, impressive properties, or I could have a mount, which I'm thinking more and more isn't impressive, I just really like writing up, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay true to the character and not my own, yeah. So, Divine Bond. The only other paladin character I've created as part of this that was high enough level, had enough paladin levels to warrant this, was one of the druid siblings, and she had a bear for mount, and it was a paladin of Gozra, who is a whole thing. 1 minute, so 20 minutes, 1 minute per paladin level. So that's 20 minutes. 4 times, so 20 minutes 4 times per day. Enhanced weapon. Alright, the 15 is chart. There is a chart, right? It is... Let me look at this chart. 50. So, I do put some glue. 15-7 is 1, 15-18. Medium wonders items. Oh, 15-3. Okay, hang on. That's 14. Sorry, I'm trying to find a particular table referenced in 15-1, 15 armors and shields. 9. Okay, so 15-9 is 15-5. 15-6. There's this 15-11. So bop it back a little bit. Melee weapon special abilities. Okay. So Vorpal Bane defending is +1. So, plus 6 at 20th level. Holy, keen, merciful, and speed. Plus 3. Many, say. It makes the weapon law aligned. So it has, wow. 1 permanent negative level on any chaotic character attempting to wield it. Well, that is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Well, until the weapon is dropped. Bane is okay. Let me just see, because I enhanced weapon. Holy is plus 2. No. What this does is, axiomatic is plus 2. So basically what this allows it to do is, if he is wielding a weapon, he can pick any number of properties up to a total of plus 5, and the different properties have different, energy is, keen is plus 1 bonus. Brilliant energies. So, basically what he can do is add a number of properties equal to plus 5, including just basic damage bumps. So it's a plus 1 sword. He has just a plus 1 sword, a weapon of some sort. I have to figure out what kind of weapon. As a paladin, he can wield, he's not limited the way clerics are to blunt weapons, so he could wield a sword. Basically, for 20 minutes, 4 times a day, he can call on, as I think it's a swift action, call on Abadar and say, make this weapon do this thing. And Abadar will oblige because beloved paladin. Disruption. So it's a magical weapon anyway, and he can add more damage bonuses or any a number of other effects. And what that does is it is a divine gift. And then if the weapon gets destroyed, you can't apply the gift for 30 days until you make amends through prayer and what's all of them? Flaming, yes. Oh. So you can also set part of this can be setting it on fire. That's pretty cool. So basically, okay. So what we can do is, so because of the divine bond, I'm going to say that's all of, okay, I'm going to go back to the paladin chart. Consulting tables is a lot, which is why you copy down of course, you have to copy down all of this if you don't have the book with you at the table, as it were. Now, I'm not actually playing any of these yet. Saturday, I will be bringing out a couple of these characters that I've created. Not John Emil just yet, although maybe I'll have him do something cool one Saturday. But this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do this whole showdown, and it's going to be epic. It's going to be I'm going to use this flail snail because this is the coolest mini I have, and I'm going to have 4 of my characters fight it, and it's going to be just showcase some of these characters I've built. And I really, really hope poor kid doesn't die. Well, one of them is Dendron is not a healthy kid. He's probably going to die. I mean, he's a 3rd level, but he's very suboptimally built because his stats are wonky, and I was building more on character than on actual optimization, so I really, really hope he doesn't die. But yes, so Divine Bond. Were there any other properties that I missed? Oh, Merciful. Yeah, I figured it. Merciful. They could do Merciful. +1. So, so, hopefully, true, but I pour a little bit of my heart and soul into these characters that I've created, and, Dendron, I don't want Dendron to die, but we'll see. I mean, maybe the flail snail will be able to kill him, and I won't hold back because of that, because... Exactly, and I have the super cool mini for it, too, which is a big reason to use something if you have a super cool mini for it. So that's what Amy was like, oh, next Saturday is going to be a showdown between two characters, a sparring match, if you will, but, alright, oh, Flaming Burst is +2. Alright, and, okay. So, I have all those written out. Okay, so you can do that as his special bonus, and we have a name. So, our completed character, because last stream I did most of this. Jean-Emile, level 20 paladin of Abadar, a half-orc, cis-male, he's bisexual, might give him a boyfriend, we'll see, or girlfriend. Strength of 18, dexterity of 13, constitution of 13, intelligence 10, wisdom 16, charisma 18, diplomacy, intimidation, climbing, swimming, ride, heal, handle animal, perception, knowledge, religion, and knowledge history is various skills. Plus 15 links in diplomacy, plus another +3, +4, and an extra +2 because one of his feats is persuasive. He also has extra lay on hands, combat reflexes, die hard, and endurance, which are extremely useful feats. I try to give them to every character I play. And stand still, which is actually very useful if you make an attack of opportunity. You can stop the opponent from moving. Deflect arrows. He doesn't have high enough dex to do snatch arrows, which would be kind of cool, but he can bat them aside. Improved and greater grapple. So that's pretty cool. Head of the Magistrisma, and he has an aura worth 20 good and all sorts of other aura abilities, which I have written down here. Can do detect evil, immune to all diseases, and I chose his mercy, so you can do smite evil, and lay on hand 16 times per day with 10d6. Aramis. Ooh. That's a good name. Arami. I had Jean-Emile, but you know what? Arami sounds pretty cool. Actually, now that I think about it, and I do like to give people in chat chances to name stuff. Arami. Now that works. Actually, that sounds like a lot like a last name. Now that I think on it. Arami. Yeah, that sounds like a last name. So maybe, here, we're going to put this here. Jean-Emile. Yeah, that's more of a... yeah, that is a very cool name. I'm going to give it to him as a last name, though. Because I feel like it suits him better as last name. Jean-Emile Arami. One of the Three Musketeers. Dashingly noble and a romantic. Kind of suits him, I would say. Jean-Emile Amari. Okay, so that is his name. And they probably call him by his last name a lot, too, because he's the head of the Magisterisme and holds like court to tend to city business 4 days a week. And we have the Divine Bond, which is 3 minutes 4 times a day. Okay. Then for 30 days. Okay. So he has a +1. Now, what kind of +1 weapon does he have? And what kind of... So did we put AC? No, we haven't put his AC because we never figured out what kind of weapon and armor he has. That is an important factor that I didn't consider. So +1 something, but let's go back to spells, which are cool. Combat, useful but not equipment. Here we go. Manacles. Dex bonus is only a +1, so honestly, full plate, you could still keep his entire dex bonus in full plate. Arcane spell. I don't think divine spells fall under arcane spells, which is why clerics wear armor. He could also have a shield. He could have insanely high AC if he wanted. Let's see. Also splint. Nah, banded. Full plate. Yeah, I would say full plate. There we go. Arami. Jean-Emile Arami. Beautiful. There we go. Makes sense. Let's see. So probably full plate is extremely expensive, but also he has the entire. We're not working about cost because he has the wealth of the entirety of. I would say it's only higher. Oh yeah, half plate is. Oh, he does, but of course he's a level 20. You know, he worked his way up the line of defense to be the biggest, the most powerful paladin in all of the land. Of course, -6 on, which actually puts him at a clean +0 for swimming and climbing, which makes a lot of sense thematically. So what we're gonna do, so they gave him 2 ranks in each, and hoping they were class skills. They are not, so he doesn't get the +3, but he does get the strength bonus. But of course that all, yeah, okay, so we're gonna go full plate. So in full plate, it would be a +9 and a +1 because you can still get a +1. So it's 10 plus, so AC of 20, assuming he doesn't have a shield. I would say no shield. Because he has high strength, the two-handed weapon would probably be a good one. So what he would take was AC of 20, which is very respectable. And, yeah, AC of 20, and, oh, that too. Faith in Abadar. Although he does have, on the breastplate of his armor, has the symbol of Abadar. What is that? I just have to remember what the symbol of Abadar is. Oh, it was the key. Yeah, the symbol of Abadar is a key with but of course he doesn't have any domains because he's yeah, of course, as paladins that's what you put on your symbol up, and it also acts as a holy symbol as a focus for his spells, which is always useful. Let's see, but weapons, let me go for equipment. Also, anyone just joining us, I know my viewer count has been wonky, going up and down, so I'm sure there's some people. My name is Lee. He imbibes today, but she or they is fine. And say hi in the chat. We're doing Pathfinder 1st Edition character creation. Welcome. I'm trying to figure out what kind of weapon Jean-Emile Arami wields, and we are... equipment. Here we go. Let me look at... paladins are, if I remember correctly, proficient with all simple martial weapons, all types of armor, and all shields, except tower shields. Apparently only fighters are proficient with those. So we got bolts, darts, slings, bullets, axes. Okay, martial, two-handed, a glaive. What's, okay. Question is, what is Abadar's favorite weapon? Because that will put us in an yes, a light crossbow. Probably not the best weapon for well, he's dex based enough, but so I'm gonna say a great sword, which is 2d6 damage. And a 19 and 20 crit. So that's slashing damage. Nothing special about it, but 2d6 d10s. Great axe is d4, but I'm thinking more great sword vibes than great axe vibes. As a paladin rather than a barbarian, I think great sword is wielding a +1 great sword. Yeah, and he can add because of Divine Bond, he can add when he goes into combat all sorts of useful this and that. I actually have iced tea because it is afternoon tea. Trying to get myself iced tea for these streams. So, is the head of the Megistabisma. Yeah, so I would say, and we have 154 hit points, and have not rolled yet. So I'm going to say, let's go, world that still needs a name. Okay, here we go. So, the priests of the Megistabisma, the clerics of the Megistabisma, are not, they don't become magistrates and then work their way up the chain to become head magistrate, or, ended up in some random provincial area. I guess magistrate positions in the big cities would be more valuable, so you would bounce around and work your way up until you're head and chief. But the clerics of Abadar they do choose who the head Megistabisma is. They appoint who goes where. They kind of run the show, and they have a significant amount of power. It's kind of divided to two branches to kind of prevent any one group from having too much power, hypothetically, but, So, I'm going to say, we're going to, one of the high clerics, I don't think he's level 20, so what we're going to do is he's going to have 1d12 plus 1d10 worth of levels. I'm going to do it like that, I think. Let me just take some of these out so we can create a space to roll in. Yeah, that seems like enough space. Okay, so I'm going to roll these two particular dice, as you can see. 1d10 plus 1d12, and we will create a cleric of the Magisterisma. Here, I'm going to take this d10 out so it doesn't get confusing. The grand plan is create a cleric of the Magisterisma to kind of... Cleric of Abadar, give him domains and all of that, just to kind of do more character creation. So let's go with cleric. Let's go those two. Let's do it. Let's roll. Let's see where we go. All right. Nope. That doesn't count because it's on the floor. Here we go. 10 and a 2. So level 12. So fairly high up. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with Jean-Emile Amare, where I Arami, which is that I'm going to not give him a name yet, or them a name yet. I'm going to roll my let's see. I'm going to roll first. I'm going to roll for species or race. So this one. But I'm going to do it a little differently. So I'm going to do human on a 1. I'm going to say probably not, well, possibly. So what we're going to do is human on a 1, a 9, or a 10. And then any of the other numbers come with any of the other, we'll do the other D10 for this one. Because actually I have to take this chart away to roll properly. So you can see it. But, yeah, I'm thinking let's roll a d10. So on a 1, a 9, or a 10, it's human. The other ones, we consult the chart. And that gives them a greater chance of being human. We can go boom, 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 boom. A 10, which is human. Okay. So, one of the greatest champions of... I'm creating a mentor figure of sorts for our Arami, being human, someone who pushed to get him elected despite the or you know, among the other high clerics, despite the fact that he was a half orc, and therefore everyone has looked a little bit of reservation about that. So I'm up for this. Let's do that. First, I should put all my dice back, and always store your dice with the highest side up, because that is how you get the good vibes, good mojo. Actually, I should probably start taking them out again, because you have to do one more roll for them. So I do another roll, which is... create space to roll. Okay, so my other roll is, let's use, it's a percentile die. So, if you don't know, percentile die are these guys. Let me see, yeah. Where you got one d10, and then you have the other d10 with the, basically the tens place number on it. So you roll them both, and then you take them together to indicate a percentile out of 100. I suppose I could also roll the D100, but I've been digging the percentile die. I'm not gonna lie. Essentially, we have this chart. This is the chart we're rolling on, which means we need another one too. I'll just take this D6 because it's here. Okay, that's this one. It goes with the same set as these two, so it works. You know, it just has to be a die with an even number of sides, which pretty much all of them except maybe the D3 is. And I generally roll for gender and sexuality. Mostly they come out straight because 65% chance, but occasionally not. And I've had a couple people come on higher numbers, and we've gone with that. But, yeah. Because my inclination is to make everyone, yeah, actually, fun fact, Evelyn said, that, um, she does the same thing. So, it's gotta be good mojo. Although I still don't have that kind of luck. But what I was gonna say is, my inclination is to make everyone basically trans or like disaster buys basically because, and half of them be non-binary disaster buys because that's me and I project a lot. So I wanted to kind of balance between creating representation in a medium in works I create because goodness knows we don't have enough of it, but also kind of creating a realistic number of straight people because yeah, straight people exist. The way I move in certain circles, I sometimes forget that, but it is a thing. So that's why I came up with this chart. I like it. Let's roll. I'm gonna close the chart out for now, so you guys can see the dice tray. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do it. 86. Ooh, this is something interesting. So we got these guys, 5, so male. And 86 is definitely less than 90, so definitely a cis male. So that is to say, he is a man who is biologically male, which... well, I could think equal percent for each, but I think it better reflects, because in any society, you kind of want, like, there's a reason there are more straight, in every single species, including humans, that has ever observed variance in sexuality, which is actually except this one type of lizard and koalas. Koalas have a lot of lesbian orgies apparently, but at least in humans, which I assume gnomes and elves and such would fall under the same kind of umbrella thing, you tend to have more humans, and I mean more straight people, and it's hard to get a decent number though, because anytime it's brought up in terms of the collecting data, it's always it's self-reporting, and a lot of people live in transphobic households or haven't come out, even to themselves haven't come out yet, so it's kind of hard to get a decent number. In the youngest generation, which is probably the most likely to accurately self-report, it's I think it's 1 in 8, I want to say. I think I did the math. It's 1 in 8, so is not straight. So I think 86% roughly is straight, which is, so maybe nudge up a little to 80%, but that's still, yeah, which is why I put it so low at 65%, but I'm figuring it's got to be up there, because I know I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people are actually legitimately straight, as hard as it is to believe. If you move in certain circles, there are actually straight people in the world. Of course, even in those circles, there are people lying to themselves. I myself, well, actually, no. Even as early as 10 years ago, I agreed that I was only mostly straight, but, I still probably would have said straight on a, mostly straight, mostly a woman. Also got told that gender genders didn't exist, but that's a whole other within the community. But no, I think I like the setup, because then it, what is 86 anyway? Let me see. Oh, he's ace. Okay, that works. I could roll for romantic orientation if I wanted to. Let's roll for romantic orientation. If we're gonna keep rolling, let's do it. And then if we get something other than 63, so yeah, well, that's a different, there's a difference between, the balance between, yeah, well, I've tried to find a balance. Society at large, when you're creating so many NPCs, because essentially these guys are NPCs. I mean, probably never going to actually play with them. You have to, like I said, it's a balance, but most societies work, like, there is a sociological, not just, like, genetic and sociological, but toward, an ecological species continuing reason for large numbers of people to be straight. Not everyone, and there's some debate on how important that is in terms of, and it certainly isn't a reason to say that you have to be straight, just because something is, what's the word? Even evolutionarily useless doesn't mean it's wrong, but it is kind of what you would tend to see. And I try to mix it up with the races, but I have figured that Hitherland and Hydian are both majority human. Not a high majority, but they are pretty heavily human. So the other races would be relatively rare in comparison. So like I said, if I'm going to create dozens and dozens of character set here, I kind of want to balance. And I figured this was the best way to do that, especially in high positions of power, because the kings are both human. So it would make sense that those in positions of power would be more human than not. Probably not as slanted toward human as you might expect, because I'd like to think that people, at least in this world, are less stigmatized than ours. Yeah, we'll see on that. But it certainly wouldn't be unheard of to have a higher percentage human. But that's why I was like, all right, well, we're still going to give a decent chance to everything else, because, so ace, heteroromantic. Yes, so we have ace, heteroromantic. I don't know if that actually does anything for him if he has a romantic and not. Male says, okay, so now he needs a name too, and also he has 12 levels of cleric, so of Abadar, so we have to give him, stats, yes, he needs stats, okay, here we go, stats. I roll my stats a little differently than most. I do not use the d6s for stats. I do use one. It's a d10 plus a d8 plus a d6, right? It's a d. Right, it's a d8 plus a d12 plus a d12 plus d8. Sorry, 20. No, it's a d6 plus a d12 plus a. No, it's a d10 plus a d. Yeah, it's a d10 plus a d6 plus a d8. Where do I have any d8s? Yes, I do. I do a d6 plus a d10 plus a d8. I did a d6 plus a d12 plus a d8, but that started getting kind of high and wonky. I don't want to give characters too much of a chance to get really high scores, so I'm trying to lower it down a little bit. It does occasionally lead to numbers above, but it also sometimes gives you really low scores. I also have, let's see. First I'm going to write down strength, dexterity, constitution, what else? Strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so this is how I roll my stats. And I do them in order usually. I do have one exception to that. So, the main stat for whatever class it is, which is wisdom for cleric, and sometimes, if I'm creating a character who isn't horribly tied to a single stat. I'll multi-class them, but and then we can roll for class splits. But actually, it's 12. But no, but he's full on cleric, so that's the thing. What I was going to say is wisdom, charisma, intelligence. Right. So, thing about charisma, strength, dexterity. Okay. So, I usually roll them in order. I usually roll the main stat, which for a cleric is wisdom, and one of the stats next to it, I roll twice and take the higher for the prime stat. So, basically, for wisdom and charisma, what I do is, I'll roll for wisdom and charisma, and then I'll put the higher one in wisdom. I did end up with a druid, actually, who could not cast druidic spells because his wisdom and charisma were both under 10, and he's actually one of the participants in the brawl, so he ended up multi-classing to barbarian, but he is one of the participants. He is one level of druid, which did give him an animal companion, and she's pretty cool, but we'll see how that goes. She only has 9 hit points, so yeah. But yeah, I usually have yeah, here we go. Let's start with strength. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. 13. Okay. I think I only rerolled once when someone got a 4, and he ended up with a 6 in Constitution anyway. That was an interesting, and then like a 20 dex, so, yeah, he was an interesting character. Ooh, speaking of dexterity, 3, 4, 5. He is, I would say probably some sort of physical disability with his legs, because that is basically the only way you can have a dex score that low, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and July is Disability Pride Month, so yeah, his legs are not great. Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, let's see what his con is. Let's see how 3, 6, 7. Yeah, he's hopefully we got all the bad rolls out, so he has better mental stats, but we'll see. I mean, maybe he was just a mentor because he was nice, and he made it on his cleric. Alright, we need to get better mojo. I don't know if that helps or anything, but let's see how we do. Alright, intelligence. Okay. That's 7. 8 plus 8 is 16. That's 7, so 15. So he's reasonably smart, which is probably why he got as far as he did, despite, well, 13 strength, so he's probably decently okay at it, fighting. I think about the combat wheelchair, because this is, the way it's setting up with the strength and constitution, I don't know. That's a thing. Possibility. I do not know what we got here. Let's see. Okay. Right, so for wisdom and charisma, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he has at least 11. So, okay, at least 11. That's so he can at least cast first level spells. Let's see what we got for the second one, right? Ready? Okay, now... Okay, 12. So, I'd say 12 wisdom, 11 charisma. So he's more smart than anything. And he's certainly... Okay, so, you know, there are certain characters who just get really good stats. He is not one of them. Alright, so we're rethinking his role in all of this with those stats, but definitely a priest in the, definitely a priest in the cleric, among the high priests of Abadar, as opposed to, say, which basically is just the temple of Abadar in the capital, and they... Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm the first to admit that, because well, no, I do okay on strength. Dexterity, not so much. If I ever wielded anything, I would be wielding a baseball bat. If I've actually figured this out. If I were wielding a weapon, I'd wield a baseball bat. Something that requires a lot of force, not a lot of dexterity, because I am strong, not skilled. But brute force is my main strength. But yeah, this guy, not so much. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna say he probably is definitely at least partially wheelchair bound. Not wheelchair bound, but he definitely has a wheelchair that he's... Maybe he can go on crutches, but with that low constitution dexterity, he's almost certainly got some sort of disability with requiring a mobility aid. That's how you put it. So, here. We'll note this. Alright. Ooh, that is a thought. So, yeah, that would... that is actually a possibility. If he were a former adventurer. Yeah, or at least had been healthier and in his youth, and then, oh, I'm certainly sure they could. Of course, he'd probably have to. They'd probably be. I'd have to, if I were gonna play him, I would create a rule that said if he had ended up using his crutches as a melee weapon or fighting in melee combat at all, he'd have to rest at least an hour before the next round. He wouldn't be able to. It would become recovery time afterward, given this level of injury. But yeah, no. Former injury. So, a former. That's a thought. A former. Yeah, a former healer who traveled with an adventuring group who got into a little bit in over his head and took I would say some sort of crit, or whatever, to the legs, and now is just... They've healed, but it's shaky. Interesting. Quite possibly. Yeah, he very well might be underestimated by opponents. That might be a useful thing. He can probably also wield, actually, especially if he's on a wheelchair, he could probably wield a weapon. So if he's in any reasonably flat area, he could probably fight if it came down to that. Question, hopefully, is that hopefully it never comes down to that, because yeah, he's definitely retired. Older. Alright, so we got all this going. Oh, yes. So, he gets stat increases as well. Stat increases. So at level 12, he gets 6 feet, 7 feet because he's human. Ooh, that is an interesting... That is a good idea. Well, his strength isn't that bad. 13 is actually pretty decent for strength. Constitution is way tanked. So that might actually make some sense. Yes, I have actually seen... Although Kill Bill 2 was basically... It was the same story, right? They just took two... It was like The Godfather, where it took 2 movies to tell the full story rather than a separate story with a sequel. Yeah, 13 upper body. Exactly. Yeah, his dexterity is terrible, though. He has a 5 in dexterity, so... yeah, he's not wielding anything dex-based. I usually go with first edition. So here, I'll show you. At least for this. I've never played second edition. This is my first edition core rulebook. Also, welcome. My name is Lee. He and pronouns today, but she or they is fine. I'm chill. Yes. Yeah, this is my first edition rulebook. I got in back when I was in college. Oh, this is years ago. I'm starting to creep up there in age. Not that old, but closer to 30 than 20. Anyway, point being, that sounds pretty cool. Is Wormwood from 5th edition or one of the supplementals for 1st edition? Because I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean I don't know all of the supplementals for 1st edition. The only physical book I have is the core rule book, and I have a PDF, I think, of the bestiary, so a lot of the supplemental stuff I missed out on. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm working on with the 1st edition rule book for this. 1E. Okay, good to know. It might be something worth looking into. I'll make a note of that, actually, to look that up, because that sounds interesting. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I have yet to play any Pathfinder 2nd edition, although I've been watching and kind of trying to learn a little bit about it, but I like the 1st edition, and I'm kind of old school. Oh, that makes sense. So, like Warforged, or are they made of wood? Curiosity. I've, but, yeah, what I was saying is I got, into D&D right when or into RPGs, I should say, right when 4th edition was coming out, and everyone was rage quitting 4th edition to go play Pathfinder instead, and being young and impressionable, I said, all right, sure. So I went with Pathfinder, which I'm glad I did. I'm very glad I did. And I recently came back to 5th edition being, all the rage, and I learned 5th edition to play with other people who had only known 5th edition. But now that I'm doing a character creation stream where I kind of was working on my own, I'm sticking with the Pathfinder 1st edition, both because I have the rulebook and because I like the lack of subclass. I know that makes no... I like the more customizable editions where you don't have the subclass. I know a little bit of it. Understand the combat system with the 3 actions and perception as its own independent score as opposed to a skill that's added to initiative, if I remember correctly. So I'm kind of vaguely aware of it. But yeah, I got the books from Humble Bundle, and I just never looked into them because I was, everyone I knew was playing 5th edition, and so I was, learning 5th edition to play with them, and, I gained a lot of friends in the 5th edition community, during quarantine and, last year, and it's blossomed into this, actually. So, yeah. But, right. So we got, strength, dexterity. I was going to say, yes, cleric, human, male. Oh, yes, so now comes the tricky part. So we get 7 feats because human. And I don't think cleric is one of the classes that gets extra feats. So, and then we get 7 feats. And so we get 7 feats, and sure, go for it. Yeah, I'm always down for that. Let's see. I'm gonna start working on this. Feats. Yeah, you can post a link. Nothing like extremely pornographic, and anything turf related, I will find a way to kick you out. Other than that, go for it. Sure. That's my rule. If anyone on the chat is intentionally, I will say it's intentionally homophobic or transphobic or, anything like that, I will find a way to kick you out. Other than that, I'm pretty chill. Just don't be mean to each other. That's my one main rule. Huh. I'm assuming 8 hit points, 8 means a D8 as a hit die, because I will look into that a little bit later, but thank you for sharing. I do appreciate that. I was going to say, wait, 7 feats. And skill points is... Interesting. That is interesting. I guess it makes sense. I did not know that. But that does make some sense, I suppose, because, you know. Skills. What was I going to do? Skills are... question is, how many skill points do clerics get? Probably not a lot. Reasonably high intelligence. Oh, also, I should probably, before I start on any of that, I should, we have 3, stat boosts. Yeah, 3 +1s to any ability score. So I'm going to bump Wisdom up to 14, because it's prime stat. And then I'm going to push Constitution up to 8, so that it's only a -1, because not a -2. Yeah, so that's worth doing, I think. Dex is just a lost cause at that point, which means he has a really low armor class. But, you know, that's okay. Alright, so that's the ability score increases applied. Then 7 feats, skill points, didn't increase the intelligence. So, okay, so strength is a +1, right? Yeah. Dexterity is... Okay, hang on. So 8 is a -2. 6 is a No, 8 is a -1. 6 is a -2. 6, 7, -2. 4, 5 is a -3. So we got a -3. Yeah, 4, 5 is -3. 6, 7 is -2, 8, 9 is -1, 10, 11 is -0, plus, yeah, so it's a -3, and, okay, 8 is a -1, intelligence is +2, wisdom is also +2, and charisma is no pluses for charisma. Okay, that's fair. Alright, so we got like a decent stat laid out. So he probably is... Huh. That actually makes a lot of sense for hit point calculation, to be fair. But we're going to have to roll for this guy's hit points, because... Also because I like rolling a lot. I don't know, you see I have a dice cam. I tend to roll randomly for a lot of things. But feats. Here we go. Right, so he gets feats, and how many skill points does he get? This is an important question. I'm going to have to ditch the stream at 1 to head to work, but we still have a little bit of time, so don't mind. Source, bloodlines, rogue. Okay, cleric, barbarian. Cleric, level 12. Oh no, that's not what we want. Good to know, but not what we want just yet. Hit die D8. Skill is 2 plus int. So 4 per... Lovely. Okay, so 4 times 12... Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Rolling is cool for stuff. I think it, yeah, I think that makes sense. And, allows for reasonable scaling to get, hit points bumped up. Plus, allows first level characters to not be so very, very squishy, which is a bit of a problem in, I mean, even Pathfinder First Edition, 5th Edition. 5th Edition Dungeons & Dragons and First Edition Pathfinder have a rule. I think it was introduced Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. I'm not sure. Definitely not 1 or 2. Where you had to roll for first level hit points. So if you had a -1 Constitution, you could go out with like 2 hit points. I think they'd probably let you reroll ones, but you could go out with 1 or 2 hit points, and that just does not make any. I mean, you can't keep a character alive like that. It's not. So what they was, okay, so the first level you get maximum, and then every level after that you have to roll for, which made a little more sense. Some DMs allow, there's a variant rule that allows your DM to say, okay, you can just take the average. But I tend to GM a lot of, one Pathfinder First Edition game among in life, and I'm a player mostly in 5th Edition games, I suppose, but all these guys are NPCs technically, actually, because I have a lot of NPCs, too many actually. The reason I'm doing all these character creations is these are characters who live in the world I created, and I'm writing them up as player characters because I'd like to do it on stream to kind of share it with, everyone, but, sure, go ahead. But my point on that is that the blur between player characters and NPC is very, very loose, and you can give an NPC player levels, and I have done that in the past with numerous NPCs. Simply say, okay, they have the same level and as, rather than just give them, random stats. Actually give them proper levels and such. Okay, skills is 4 times, hang on, but 4 times math. Okay, 4 times 12 is, that's a thought. That would mean you'd have to have the created constructs as something that the players would run into. Because otherwise, the fact that they used alchemy to create children wouldn't be important. It's a thought, especially in Napolita, because of reasons. But Napolitan magic's got a little weird. That's just to the south of Vidian, which is this country where we have our Magisterisma and the other stuff that I'm working on now. That's a thought. I mean, then you would, of course, have the moral question of, do they love their children? And if they ended up with biological children as well, do they love their children more or other children more? And that's a whole thing. Skills. Okay, hang on. Sorry, I'm getting... 4 times 12 is 24 plus 24 is 48. That's 48 skill points. We'll come back to that later. And HPAC feeds. I'm gonna let's start with AC HP, because there's a lot of different ways we could do this. I'm gonna start with HP, and I'm going to do the one thing I do as many streams as I can, which is show off this. Ooh. Here, I will, well, yeah, but then there's the question of if they have biological children, do they love their biological children more? And if so, how do they admit that to themselves? Do they deal with that? How does that play out in the, okay, I just want to show you something really cool that I like to show off occasionally, because I have, if we pull this up a little bit, we can see, yeah, this is my main hoard. I do have other dice bags, and I have the sets I keep in the dice tray. I got a few sets scattered around here and there. I keep them over on the dresser. I have all the sets that don't fit in here. I have my pastel pretty dice that's in a separate bag. Then I have my metal sets, which are in another bag. My extra fancy jamming sets, the ones that I have emotional attachment to, which include my pride dice. Like a lot of other ones. But this is my main hoard. The dice bag was Card King Pro was a gift from my father for my birthday one year, and I just, it's good. I'm gonna need to figure something out about this, because I need more dice bag space is essentially the thing. But that means what I can do then is start pulling out these guys, because we don't need them just yet. Make some room. Wait for Prince Ali. Sorry. I tend to get random songs stuck in my head. I apologize. I know my singing is not great. I'm pretty good at singing, I will say, but not amazing. Boom. That's a D8. This is a okay. So we're putting, we're setting up like that, and you know, we can leave these guys in here for now. So if we have the way the rules work when you get, I try to pick ones that show up well on, yeah, that works. Yeah, that works too. Okay. Trying to pick ones that have faces that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to get 11 d8s out of this bag of d8s, and well, bag of dice, but I'm just playing d8s. So, that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nah, see, that's why I'm picking through them so carefully. I want to get ones that show up well on camera. Always put them 8 side up. Yeah, that one doesn't work too well anyway. That is usually large numbers, huh? This is one of my first sets. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that's 4 plus 8. Yeah, that's 11. Okay, so for a 12th level character, this is the right. This is that D. Okay, so yeah, for a 12th level character, what we need to do is get my book. So the plan for a 12th level character with a -1 Constitution. Okay, so 7. So it's 7 plus 11 d8, which we have here, minus 1 times. No, hang on. It would be, okay, so minus 1 times 12 is 12, right? But for first 3 levels, it was minus 2, so that's minus 15. Yeah, so minus 15. Because because you gain, yeah, if your Constitution gains up, you retroactively gain, so it's only minus 12. Okay. Or you retroactively lose less, I guess? Either way. Yep, so we got 11 d8s. We're going to roll them, add them to 7, subtract 12, and we will get a number. And that will be our number of hit points. It's not going to be very big with the minus 12, but it's going to be something. Here we go. D8s. Let's do this. Are we ready? Let's roll it. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to calculate the HP, and then we're going to end the stream here for today. I lost all my viewers. That's okay. No worries. 2 plus 2 is 4. Ew. I'm going to use a variant rule, which allows for the re-rolling of ones. I know it is not, okay, that's one, that's just staying then. So that's, okay, that's 10 and 8, 7 and 1. So that's 10, 20, 30, 45. I tend to group them into sets that equal 10 as a method of counting and more frequent addition. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 7 plus 3, 10. 8, oh, that's an 8. Hang on. Yeah, no, that was a 7, right? Yes, it was. We remembered it was 7. 7. Hang on. 8. Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. Yeah, okay, so I completely ignored an 8. All right. So that's 10 plus 10 is, that's 8 and 2 and 8 and 2 make 10. That's 20, 30, 45. That's 46 plus 7 is 53. So 53 minus 12. So 53. Oh, 53 plus 7. That's easy. That's 53. We'll plug this in. 53. Then, and then we'll put all the dice back in a minute. But 53 plus 7 is 60. Minus 12 is 48. All right, 48 hit points. And we will continue with this character. Friday, I'm doing maybe a little bit on Friday, but most likely Monday, if my internet cooperates. Tomorrow, I'm going to stream at, I'm going to do a nighttime stream tomorrow, so 11 p.m. And then Saturday, this is a really exciting one. On Friday, we're going to do spell choosing for Saturday. And Saturday, now this is a super exciting one. On Saturday, we are going to do a super epic showdown, which is some of these characters I've been creating, using the method you've seen. And then I'm gonna do that, but also some fun times with other stuff. So it's gonna be a good time if you are down with that. Please join me on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out. I always love it when people talk in the chat, and it's always fun to have new voices. So yeah, I have the schedule if you want to come by for other streams. If not, no worries. Whatever you want. But thank you for coming. All right. So I will see you guys all tomorrow night or whenever you make your next stream. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.